What up, people? Tarun here, talking to you live from my living room. Does anybody care? I mean, guys, we're all gonna die at some point. But until that day happens, I thought I would just recount some stories. And today I thought I would talk about the Comedy Store because it's probably the hottest club in Los Angeles. And it's when I go there, I don't even get spots there anymore, being totally honest with you. But it's a pretty hot club, and I was there for a minute in 2012. And I'll break down a few of these clubs in case you guys are interested. My experiences, anyways. But the Comedy Store, for any comedians who are listening, man, there's this whole thing about hanging out at the comedy clubs. I did that, and I was hanging out at the Comedy Store from 2009 to 2012. I was there every Sunday, Monday night, just doing late spots there. And there was a guy named Tommy. He was running the club. He was the booker. So everyone would kiss up to Tommy. That's how. It's almost weird because like these clubs are all run by degenerates. To some extent. I don't even mind saying that out loud because at this point, who really cares? So Tommy ran that club, and I actually had nothing against Tommy. I actually liked him. He was an okay guy to me, and he was talking about music and shit, and he would throw me up at like 12 o'clock in the morning. And that club back then, it was kind of just like half full, right? You see people, it was a half full audience and whatever, and I would get development spots at the Comedy Store, and it was kind of cool. And I saw so many guys as door guys. There were door people. The Comedy Store's got this door guy system where you work the door there, and then the good comics, they would eventually, after years and years, pass them, which means you would then be able to call in regular spots. I didn't work there, so I'm glad, because you have to like park cars and change the marquee and shit. I did that shit in New York. I'm not doing it again in LA. Sorry. But Tommy did pass me as part of the Friends and Family program, which meant I could call in. I wouldn't get paid for my spots, but I would get like these, 5-minute spots before these produced shows. Right? Because the Comedy Store, all these clubs have these independently produced shows, and basically they need someone to fill up their room, and these producers / comedians will book bringers or whoever, and they'll fill up like a Tuesday night, and then the development spots are like 5 minutes before those shows, and they usually suck because they have to put you up. They throw you up like right in the beginning, so you're playing to like a very cold audience. But I was happy with whatever spot I got, and it was fine. And the best thing about that club for me was the people, the comedians. A lot of comedians I know hate the Comedy Store just because they feel like, oh, it's cliquish, but I always got along with everybody there. They're always, there's a guy named, I can't think of his name, David. He was super nice to me. Eleanor Kerrigan's Comedy Store, she's a sweetheart. Nick Youssef, all these guys when I was coming up, Francisco Ramos, whatever, the list goes on. Just a lot of good guys at the Comedy Store from that scene. And I feel like that's anything with comedy. If you put in your time, well, here's the thing. Ari Shaffir was a great guy too. I like Ari a lot. Some people don't like that guy. I like him because I used to do the Ice House, and he was doing spots with me. And then I saw him at the Comedy Store. And I think the hardest thing about these clubs is you start to see your friends get spots at clubs, and when you don't advance, you're like, man, what's wrong with me? How come I'm not part of this group? But I also think that's a good lesson in comedy in general, because if you're going to do stand-up or anything in the arts, you're going to see your friends get stuff, meaning pilots, spots at clubs, blah, blah. And it's never going to stop. And maybe you'll be one of those guys one day and realize that's really meaningless, because you really are in a race against yourself and how good you can be. And I think that's really important. And the Comedy Store will definitely teach you that. So there I was, Comedy Store, 2012. I also got a job, as you know. I was working at an agency and doing spots at the Comedy Store. So I really felt like I never was was part of that. I couldn't really give it full force. Here's a great story, actually. I was working at UTA, and I was working at the Comedy Store too. I was doing spots there, and I had a spot in the main room. And I had to ask my boss to leave. I told him I was gonna go on a smoke break, and I drove to the Comedy Store, did a spot in the main room in a suit and tie. They were like, "Why are you dressed up?" And I was like, "Oh, I came from a corporate show." I just totally lied. And then I drove back to my desk job at like 8:00 at night. My boss was like, "Where the fuck were you?" And I'm like, "Sorry, I was calling my mom in India," which makes no sense because she lives in New Hampshire. So the Comedy Store was there, and somewhere along the lines, the guy Tommy got fired, the booker there. It was like 3 years ago, but it was a big deal in LA because these clubs, you spend so much time trying to get in there, and it's a great lesson for all comedians listening. If any comedians listening to this, or any artist in general, if you put all your eggs in one basket, sometimes that basket's gonna flip over. So I did that twice. Once at the Boston Comedy Club in New York City, and I worked the door there for years. Finally got passed, and they changed bookers, and everything changed. Didn't get any more spots, and that happened with the Comedy Store too. Tommy was there, and they changed this guy to Adam Egget, who now runs it. I have nothing. Adam seems like a cool guy too. He doesn't like me, but nothing against that guy. He's got to run a club. And then Adams made that into like a celebrity club. So, and man, I don't know who did it. I think maybe it's probably Adam and Polly Shore, who actually owns that club, the Shore family. But they did a great job because that club's totally different now. It is a star club. It is packed every night. It is the place to be. Like, I go there sometimes, and it's like Joe Rogan, David Spade, and I don't even know the door guys there anymore. I used to be able to like walk in there. They're like a family. Like, "Oh, hey, what's up, dude? Hey, how are you?" I walk in there. I have no idea who anybody is. Like, they card me now at the door, which was crazy. Like, that's for my driver's license because they don't know who I am. That's why the turnover for these comedy clubs is so quick. And I tell people, if you're going to do comedy, make sure you're diversifying. You're hitting everything: road shows, comedy clubs, corporate shows, colleges, whatever. Just try to, keep that fire going in different areas. Because if one door shuts, like if all you're doing is these comedy clubs, like the Comedy Store, and say Adam Egget gives you spots, which is awesome, but then all of a sudden tomorrow he's goes somewhere else. He's running Comedy Central or something. New booker, guess what? You're not getting any more spots. That's what it is. That's the brutality of comedy. So I now go to the Comedy Store. It's great. I think it's a great club. I don't get spots there, but I go there, once a week, maybe once every 2 weeks, just because my friends go there. And I'm not even, I think I'm actually okay with it not getting any more spots at the Comedy Store. I really am. Because here's what happened for me, and this is a lesson for comedians. Like 2012, I was running the show called the Westwood Brewing Company in Westwood with Adam Hunter, who's a funny comedian. We had a great show twice a week. And then I would do spots at the Comedy Store. So between the store and brew car, I'd get up like 3-4 times a week. And I was good with that for some reason. I was like, man, this is good. I'm comfortable. Like, you can get very complacent in entertainment, and complacency is the kiss of death. I'm telling you right now, if you are complacent auditioning, stand-up comedy, in your shitty job, whatever it is, man, something's about to eject you out of that thing. And that's what happened to me, because I was very complacent just doing this. I was showing my own videos, which was fine, but I never pushed beyond my circle of comfortability. Right? And so eventually Bruco shut down, the room we ran, and then I stopped getting spots at the Comedy Store. Guess what? I'm not getting up anywhere now. Now I'm like back to open mics again after 15 years, whatever that was. And it was hard. It sucked. It really did suck. You're like, oh my God. And there's a guy named Jackson Purdue, who's an old school comedian. He once told me, he goes, "Tarun, you never stop paying your dues in comedy." And I thought about that, and I was like, well, I'm not. I'm obviously okay paying my dues, but I'm not going to sit here and suffer. So I started, thank God for this guy named Darren Carter, who I feature for, and he introduced me to a lot of these road bookers. And just hustling, man, just trying to send out your stuff. I'm still doing that today. Like, I'm not comfortable. People see my stuff. They're like, oh my God, this guy's this, successful comedian in Los Angeles. I do okay. I wouldn't say I'm successful in the sense of like, Theo Von shit. But, again, that comparison thing's always going to be there. And you have to just keep doing your own stuff, which is why I make a lot of videos, which is why I make a lot of, stand-up spots, and I put on my Instagram, and I'm doing this podcast. I'm trying to just keep putting myself out there. Like, I have no idea what I was going to talk about today, but I was like, you know what can I actually provide a service for people? And I think the Comedy Store is a good place because people ask me, young comedians ask me, they're like, Tarun, should I be hanging out at the Comedy Store? Should I be putting in time? And I'm always like, absolutely not. Like, who gives a shit, dude? Like, nobody's going to care if you hang out or not. That's what it is. If you want to go there just to like meet comedians, yeah. But and I say this for any club in general. Like, if you hang out at a club, like, it's 50-50. I know a guy who's been hanging out at the Improv, for like years, and they're giving him spots. But that is a time commitment. I'm just not a guy where I can just sit like a wallflower, and smile at people when I'm not getting up. And that's what, that old hangout rule is. And I just don't subscribe to it. I really believe in my heart that if you are good and if you make stuff and if you can get a following, they'll book you. They'll come to you. In fact, right now, like, I get booked as Bobby Kahn to headline. People reach out to me now because I have a good reputation that I can do well on stage. That's what it is. So I feel like if I can just enhance that times 100, then, I'll be killing it. This is all just hearsay. I really don't know what I'm doing. Like everybody else, I'm a human being. Anyway, back to the Comedy Store. So, Comedy Store is a great club. I think it's a cool place to visit, and there's like a dark, ominous vibe to it when you go there. Like, I think that's the only thing that kind of holds it back, because they're sometimes loyal to the old school guys who only perform at the Comedy Store, and you can kind of see who these guys are. Some guys are killers, absolute great comedians, and they do spots all over the place. Some other guys there, you can tell all they do is spots at the Comedy Store because they don't know how to write jokes. They're a bit, lollygagging on stage. Is that a word, lollygagging? But they're just, you can kind of tell when you're seeing like a real, killer on stage, and I think that's what you should aspire to be. You aspire to be someone with a true voice, someone who's in command, someone who can really just, like, you want to come back and see them, someone who's memorable. So I think the Comedy Store, I think every club for that matter, has a mix of both worlds. In fact, sometimes I love seeing a comedian I've never heard of in the Midwest somewhere. I'll go out of my way and I'll actually email them and let them know, hey, dude, or her, you're great. You got to come out here because, man, there's a lot of shit out here. That's what the business is. So there you go. I hope this wasn't too jaded, but the Comedy Store is a cool place. I'm giving it my recommendation, and check it out or don't check it out. Have a great week, guys. See ya. Bye.